What's up, guys? Today we got something very, very important to talk about. And it's something that's been an issue in the bass fishing and tournament fishing world since the inception of it, and that's fish care. Fish dying from tournaments, from not being properly taken care of in the live wells of the boats. And, the good thing, we finally have a solution for it after all of these years. And so we're going to talk about that, talk about how it works, what it does, and kind of break down some myths that have been taught. People in the industry have been spreading misinformation on fish care for years and years and years. I guarantee you about 90% of you will hear stuff today that you have never heard about as far as fish care, what's right and what's wrong. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to take care of our fish, guys. So we're just going to go ahead and dive into it real quick, talking about this product, how it works, what it does, just a quick rundown of how it installs and the simplicity of it. And then we'll dive into those fish care myths and telling you what you've been doing wrong that you actually thought were right. We'll give you a little cliffhanger. If you've been using ice to keep your fish alive, then you haven't been keeping them alive. Sorry to break it to you. I know it might sound like a shock, but that's what we're going to get into later on in this video, so stay tuned. So anyways, the solution to all your fish care problems is this bad boy right here. This is the FISHLUNG oxygen system. And so what it does is it's going to be pumping in optimal levels of oxygen into your live well. And it works alongside all your standard pumps and everything. So you don't have to replace anything. It works with like G-juice and all your additives. So you can do all the same things that you've been doing, and this thing just adds to it. But anyway, so this is the housing, and it's got all these parts in here. And basically what it does is it pumps air into these lines that lead to this, and this is called the unibody assembly. And so what it's doing is it's pretty much breaking down all the bad parts and giving you the most purest form of oxygen possible. And you see it's got this filter, and so you run your lines through the back of this battery compartment, and we're going to hop up in here to the boat, and those lines just run to your live well, come out the back, and it goes to this stone. And so what this stone does is it creates the bubbles. And here's the cool part about FISHLUNG. If you see all these other live well systems that are pumping out these huge bubbles, think about it. They're coming up to the surface and they're popping. That's not usable. I tell you what it is. It is pleasing to the eye of the fisherman to look down there and see those big bubbles popping, thinking, man, there's tons of oxygen in that water. But it's not staying there. It's coming up to the surface and popping. And so what this stone does and what the FISHLUNG system does is it creates these micro nano bubbles. And they are so small, and they actually super saturate your live well. And so they're not coming up to the surface and popping. They're staying there, and it's fully saturated. So it stays. That initial amount of oxygen that pumps in, it stays there. It's not dissipating. It's staying there. And that's the cool thing about the FISHLUNG and why it is so much different than anything else out there. And so this is a quick install. They've got all the guides on fishlung.com. You can check them out, but most of the time it takes an hour or two, maybe 3 if you're not mechanically inclined, but it don't take much. And it's a self-sustained system. So pretty much you install that, and then you run your power wires just to, just a traditional switch. I've got mine right there on the accessory switch, and it's set on a timer. So pretty much you turn it on, you flip the valves in the back, these blue valves. So you flip those valves on at the beginning of the day to start your tournament, and you don't have to do anything else. It's on a timer, so it takes care of your fish for you. And that's a big thing, time management. You don't have to be in here, messing with your fish, fooling with them, make sure they're getting all they need. Because, in the hot summer months, dude, it is, in post-spawn conditions, especially right when they get off bed, it's hard to keep these fish alive. And, I've been running this system for about a year, and I've caught some fish in some awful conditions. It's crazy to catch a fish that is in poor shape, put it in the FISHLUNG, and kind of see it just get revived back. But one big thing that oxygen does for a fish is it reduces stress. When a fish stresses out, that's going to cause the fish to be more active, which is going to require more energy, which is going to require more oxygen. So if you don't have any oxygen being pumped in and you've got like a 15-20 pound bag of fish in the hot summer months, they're going to be depleted of oxygen, and that's where delayed mortality comes in. And what that is that's pretty much fish dying further in the future, like hours to days after fish being released, and that's what you don't see, and that's what FISHLUNG addresses. So here's a fact: traditional live wells have 4 to 6 parts per million of oxygen in the water, and that parts per million, that's just how of measuring oxygen content in the water. That's like miles per hour driving down the road, or just using that as an example. So 4 to 6 parts per million, and brain damage in bass actually occur around that 4 to 5 parts per million. So if you're just using a traditional live well system, you're not giving your fish enough oxygen for them to survive and to be comfortable and be stress-free. And so the cool thing about FISHLUNG is it is pumping in. Keep in mind, it's super saturated, so it is at every square inch of your live well, 14 to 16 parts per million of oxygen. That is like 3 to 4 times the amount of any other live well system out there. So I can guarantee you are not going to have to worry about your fish dying after they're released. Just the standard of practice that's been there for the longest from live well manufacturers and stuff, and is just getting your fish to the weigh-in. And that's not enough, dude. Fishing is getting so popular as a sport. There's a ton of more people getting into tournament bass fishing. So, if people aren't taking care of their fish, the fish are going to continue to die, and your best genetics in the lakes are going to be taken out. What's it going to be like in 15, 20 years? Are our children and grandchildren and generations to come going to actually be able to have the quality of fish, or any fish at all for that matter, to be able to catch and bring them away in, or just to catch and have fun? Those are things that we've got to think about, and we've got to conserve our resources. So that's why I'm so adamant about this FISHLUNG system, is because I don't want to just get my fish to the weigh-in. I want them to live. And so, I mentioned something earlier about the ice, and, ice isn't keeping your fish alive. It is temporarily, I will give you that. So what ice does is it slows their metabolism. But if they are already deprived of the precious oxygen that they need, that's going to give them brain damage. And you think about a human with brain damage, or, there's just not much you can do. And so you think about that fish, it is going to die, whether it be 12 hours after weigh-in, 3 days after weigh-in. And so that's why a lot of times you're seeing these fish floating around the boat ramps after big weigh-ins and stuff. They might not have died right away, but they died in the future. And like I said, it's just something that you don't see a lot, because, you release the fish and they swim off. They might be a little hesitant, but for the tournament directors and all the fishermen, they're thinking that they did a good job of keeping their fish alive, when in reality, those fish are just swimming off to eventually die. And so, guys, this FISHLUNG unit is kind of like the end-all be-all of fish care. They have really struck a gold mine with this technology that they have invented, and it's patented. I think they got 2 or 3 patents on it, but it's just amazing what they can do. So pretty much turn the system on when you put your first fish in the box. The water temp isn't going to matter. And that's another thing. Water temp does not matter as long as you have the correct oxygen levels in the water. So for all of you that are saying that hot water kills fish, it's not necessarily the water temperature. It's the oxygen, because oxygen depletes a whole lot faster in warmer water. So there's a lot of people that are hesitant to believe this, because we've always been taught that ice is going to keep your fish alive and stuff, and that's not true. There's been a lot of studies done on it. If you don't believe me, just look up a couple articles on delayed mortality and fish care. There's a bunch of stuff out there. Swing on over to the FISHLUNG website, fishlung.com. They've got some info on it on there too. But yeah, guys, once you catch your first fish of the day, turn the FISHLUNG on, and you don't have to do anything else. It takes care of it for you. So time management, you keep your fish alive, not only alive just enough to get them to weigh in, but you get to watch them swim off healthy and know that they have been given the best care possible and they're not stressed out. You're releasing those best genetics back into the lake, because when you weigh in 5 fish, you're going to be weighing in your 5 biggest fish. So if you're taking those 5 fish out of the lake and they're dying, then you lose out on those genetics for the next spawn. And so we want to keep our lakes healthy. especially like Gunnersville. You know, I live very close to Gunnersville. I fish it a lot. I want to see the lake continue to grow. It went through a little decline, but now it's back, and dude, it's booming, and I want it to stay that way. But guys, with all this information, you know, there's still a couple occurrences where you have to take extra precaution. You know, if you gut hook a fish and it's bleeding out and already lost so much blood, you can't expect this to bring it back to life. It's not a miracle worker. It's not Jesus. It's not going to bring the fish back after it's pretty much dead. And fizzing fish, you know, if you're catching fish out of deep water, you know, as you're bringing that fish up to the surface, the pressure is going to increase on that fish. So, you know, once you get into the live well, that's why you see them belly up. It's just because they have gotten so much pressure on them. So you still got to relieve all that pressure of the air from catching deep fish. But, you know, after running this system for a year, I'm super confident in it. I love it. I will never have another boat without it because there's nothing like it, dude. So, I mean, if y'all got any questions, drop them down in the comments section below. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you learned something, because fish care and conservation is something that every single person that loves to fish should be just over the moon about. We should all want to keep our fish alive, because at the end of the day, if we keep killing them in tournaments and, you know, just boxing fish in the live well for fun, you know, for a picture, and not giving them the correct amounts of oxygen that they need, then these fish aren't going to be around for long. So guys, please like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel. Check out a couple more videos, you know. Hang around a little bit. We'll see you in the next one.